Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, the marvelous Mark Souza, and with me is the justifiably wrong Jeffrey Malinoff. I'm just kidding. Jeff, what is your nickname, dude?
Why is yours the marvelous?
I don't know. The man, the myth, the Mark Souza. What's your name? You're a wrestling guy. What is your... Come on, dude. When you create a player, on the wrestling video games?
Well, my the gimmick I was supposed to have in wrestling when I was training in my head was the evil angel, or like the angel of death or something like that.
What?
The evil angel, yeah.
You don't have like a name that goes off your name? Like a...
No. You have a fix. You have a scripted name, and I was going to be Sean Damos. So it was going to be the evil angel, Sean Damos.
Oh, dang.
So I thought that was cool, but... All
right. Well, I'll just be the marvelous Mark Susan. You could be... Who do you want to be? For the listeners out there.
The best Jeff Malinoff?
All right. The best.
Nah.
Jeff the best.
Ooh, I like that. Jeff the best.
Jeff the best Malinoff. All right. Do you have a New Year's resolution?
Do I? Just be less Jeff, I guess.
I am going to run a half marathon.
Oh, nice.
I've never done this before, but I'm going to do it. Anyways, we got to get to football, man, because we had so much stuff happen this weekend. The playoffs are set. College football playoffs happen. We'll talk about that. It's Black Monday in the NFL, as we know as football fans. That means that about a quarter of the league gets fired. That on average, about a quarter of the NFL head coaches get fired on Monday after the season's over, if they haven't been fired already. So we already know about the Packers and the Browns head coaching vacancies. But what other vacancies are there? We will get to that in segment number 3. Lastly, later on, we'll talk about maybe some other bowl games that happen. A couple tight ends had some record-breaking performances in the NFL yesterday. But first and foremost, Jeff, the playoffs are set. The Colts made it. They are in the AFC. The Colts and the Chargers are your wild card teams. Your Chiefs and the Patriots are your first-round buys. You have the Ravens. You have the Texans, division winners, but do have to play a first-round game. They will host. Over in the NFC, the Saints are your number 1 seed. The Rams come in at number 2. The Bears at 3. The Dallas Cowboys, yes, the Dallas Cowboys, they're the 4 seed. They will match up with the 5 seed Seattle. And that previous team I mentioned, the Chicago Bears, they will host the defending Super Bowl champions and the defending Super Bowl MVP, Nick Foles. A lot of good storylines as we head into the playoffs. But I have to ask you, who is your biggest winner of the season so far in terms of team? What team stands out to you? What playoff team stands out to you for the season that they had?
Stands out. The most standout performance, I think, has to go to the Chicago Bears, just because one guy changed the whole aspect of that team to basement dweller to Super Bowl contender. But I will also have to say the New Orleans Saints, I did not expect them to be the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
I expected them to have a pretty positive season, no question about it. But number 1 seed was unexpected. And best record in the NFL.
Okay. I think that my biggest winner is the Colts. I know we talked about it a little earlier, but I want to reiterate the fact. Also, if you haven't checked out our sports podcast on the GSMC network, we do a sports podcast every single day, or we cover the NFL, but we also cover NBA, UFC, Major League Baseball, soccer, everything. It's an all-inclusive show. But yes, of course, as we shift our focus to the GSMC football podcast and we really take a deep dive, we talk about teams like this, I still think that the Colts are my biggest winner because they learned this year that Andrew Luck can play football still. We didn't know if he was going to play again. We didn't know if he was going to be the same quarterback again.
His shoulder injury they thought was going to be career-threatening.
Really, really did. And I think that they're winners because what they've done this year, it's been an exceptional season for them. They started off a little slow, but I thought that they really turned it up. Weren't they like 1-5 at one point? 1-4. I know they were like 1 they had some terrible odds to make the playoffs, and they went on a streak. They went on a big run.
I think they went on like 6-7 game winning streak.
Yeah, and then they lost, and then they won like a couple more, right? Like I think they won like 8 or 9 out of the last 10 to make it. So, but what we learned from the Colts is not only are they good now, but they got a good future. Andrew Luck being healthy, an offensive line. They found an offensive line in the last 2 years since Andrew Luck has been injured. Quentin Nelson, he leads that pack of offensive line that they didn't have. That was always their Achilles heel. Their defense looks good. Darius Leonard might be AFC Rookie of the Year, at least defensively. He's been a phenomenal player for them. He leads the NFL in tackles.
I might give that to Denzel Ward, but I agree.
No, for sure. It's just like they struck gold with that draft pick, is what I'm saying. Like, It seems like they're on the up and up. They got a decent thing going on defense. Their defense improved this year. That offense looks super good with Andrew Luck. You know it. T.Y. Hilton. Marlon Mack has been an exceptional player that they found.
Top 10 running back for sure.
They signed Eric Ebron, who was kind of a bust in Detroit, and all of a sudden he's a dangerous tight end.
One of the leading touchdown receivers on the team too.
Big time. I really like what the Colts are doing.
It was an alternate universe for sure.
I really think that they answered a lot of big questions that they had going into the season, and that first and foremost had to do with Andrew Luck. But do you remember when, what was it, right after the Super Bowl when Josh McDaniels took the job and then famously said, never mind.
Psych. April Fools.
And then they hired Frank Reich, so he's been a fantastic hire.
He's starting to look like a homeless man on the sidelines with that
Who,
beard.
Vinatieri?
Vinatieri looks like Santa Claus.
I was talking to my dad last night, and I said, I asked my dad if he thought that Vinatieri was growing out his beard longer because it was so white that he was trying to prove a point. Like, look how old I am, and I'm still doing
100%.
this.
That's the fact.
Like, this is it's kind of a statement that he's
making.
Absolutely. Isn't it funny that him and Tom Brady are basically the same age, and one looks like Tom Brady?
One looks unbelievably older than the other. Yes.
Illuminati, man. Illuminati.
I think Alan Vinatieri is just a tad older, isn't he?
Maybe Adam Vinatieri needs some avocado smoothies, and then it'll turn back the hands of time.
I think he's a very healthy guy. I think he's just messing with people.
I'm sure he's extremely healthy.
He's a kicker, after all.
What's also cool is I do know the punter for the Colts, Rigo Sanchez, who had a great punt last night inside the 2-yard line.
Don't remember because it's a punter, no offense.
He's from Northern California. He played at University of Hawaii. He's had an exceptional season.
What high school did he go to?
I'm not sure which high school he went to up there.
Were you not friends with him in high school?
No, he's like your age. He's a little bit younger than me.
Oh, okay.
He's younger than me, but I played soccer on the same field as him a couple times.
A full soccer player.
The kicker on the New York Giants, I know him and his family too. He's also from Chico. Aldrich Rosas, the NFC Pro Bowl kicker. By the way, Aldrich Rosas, yeah, great kid,
Small
great
world.
family. Two super humble kids from Northern California who came from unlikely places to play NFL football, who are just absolutely dominating.
You can see that for a lot of kickers.
Yeah, Rosas went to Southern Oregon. Rigo Sanchez went to Hawaii to kick and punt. But exceptional. Anyways, back to the Colts. I think what they're doing is fantastic. I think their fans have every right to be excited about the future. And they could make some noise, man. They play Houston this weekend. That's the first game. Number 6 seed Indianapolis against the number 3 seed Houston. You think the Colts have a chance in this game?
Yes, but I don't know. The Texans look pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. Maybe the best wild card team in the NFL right now.
Possibly. So, we talked about each of our biggest winners. We got to talk about the biggest failures. What team stands out to you, Jeff, as a team that is this year's biggest failure, who did not make the playoffs, who had high aspirations, who you think just fell flat on their face and disappointed you?
Well, there's two. And they're both separate conferences. AFC, I will have to say Jacksonville Jaguars were a huge disappointment. I know everyone's like, oh, that makes sense because of the fact that Blake Bortles was their quarterback. But I don't know. That team just looked like it was bound to get back to the playoffs after a very good performance up to the AFC title game. And then look at the NFC. I think we both agree the Minnesota Vikings. They were another team that went to the conference championship, and people thought it was a huge boost in replacing Case Keenum with Kirk Cousins, and look what happened.
I think undoubtedly they're the biggest disappointment in the NFC. I mean, you just said a couple things there. They got so close to being a Super Bowl team last year.
Well, they got destroyed, granted, but they were in the NFC title game.
Yeah, they were close. They lost that game devastatingly, but they were close. And they got Kirk Cousins. They didn't really lose anybody of note. They got Dalvin Cook back, too, which a lot of people don't remember because he got injured last year, and he's a dynamic player. They got maybe the best receiving 1-2 combo in the NFL. I know it's arguable. I know Steelers fans are probably losing their collective minds when I just said that. But, hey, Thielen and Diggs are super good. If they're not the best 1-2 combo, they're certainly in the top 2 or 3.
Speaking of Thielen, did you see the argument he had with Kirk Cousins on the sideline during that game? That Week 17 game?
I did see that. I also saw Thielen's jacket that he wore to the stadium before the game, the White Men Can't Jump jacket. That was cool.
But I think one of the things that I couldn't stand was Kirk Cousins trying to yell at his players, and he has not earned that right yet, in my opinion, to be that crucial to the other teams.
We know that Kirk Cousins has struggled mightily in his career against over 500 teams. I think you said the stat earlier was like 4-26. Mm-hmm. 4-26? That was actually
4-24 a couple of weeks ago,
and they lost to the Bears yesterday.
So 4-25.
And who did they lost? They probably lost to another team. Okay,
probably 26.
So he's won 4 games out of 30.
Yeah, that sounds
against over 500 teams.
That sounds right.
Does that concern you?
Oh, 100%. 4 wins against winning record teams, and all your success comes from losing record teams. That speaks loud. That's a loud explanation of like where his success came from.
Yeah, that
would worry me. I would be worried sick. I'd be like, maybe, and this guy got $84 million guaranteed.
He is.
You might as well just flush it down the toilet.
Yeah, he. It's a tough place for them to be in because now the pressure really mounts this next year.
Oh yeah,
like
it's going to suffocate.
It's going to be tough for the Vikings next year because they're going to have an immense amount of pressure, especially Kirk Cousins, but the whole team, Mike Zimmer too.
The biggest question I have for you: if they have the same season where Kirk Cousins does not play to a level where they expect him, do they cut him? I know he's already guaranteed all that money.
He's on a 3-year deal, right?
Yeah.
I think you just have to play it out, to be honest with you, because it's only a 3-year deal. Like, I see what you're saying. It's a good point.
I just think that
if he's mediocre, if he's absolutely terrible, let's just say like he has the worst start of the season ever that you can imagine. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't, but let's say they go 8-8 again, or 9-7.
I'm sorry, 8-7-1. You mean?
Yeah, 8-7-1. I think you have to just do it. Like, you have to just let them stay. But
Okay.
I don't know, man. The pressure's going to be big. Is there a team that has more pressure on them next season as of right now? Maybe the Steelers. But other than that, it's got to be Minnesota.
Yeah, they're expecting more than what they got. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone thought, Kirk Cousins had a Case Keenum. This is a Super Bowl team now, and they were much. And
you know what?
worse.
You know what's crazy is that it's not that easy. Like, this is a case study. I don't like it when fans, because we do the same thing. I do the same thing. I'm not even saying that I don't do this, that other people do. I do it too. We look at it as a zero-sum game, right? Like, the Vikings are the same team, so they will be just as good next year, and they're adding a better quarterback, so they're going to be better, but it's not like that. Players change over the years. Yeah. Injuries happen. Other teams get better. Your schedule gets harder. It's not as simple as just being like, if you put Tom Brady on the Arizona Cardinals, they win 12 games next year. You know, it's not that simple. As much as us as sports fans, as we like to make it simple, right? Like, we don't like to go through all these, hoops discussing why a team or which team will be better or worse and things like that. And we just say, Kirk Cousins, Vikings good, they should be good. But we know that's not
there
the
is
case.
a lot of times that happens, where the hype is too much, and we expect the same kind of progress season by season. But it's
really
reality.
hard to be good every season too. I mean, like, the Patriots are a unicorn. Like the Patriots, them being good every single year, even in the year they didn't make the playoffs, they were good. They were 11 and 5.
Huge asterisk on them.
Go ahead.
Their division's terrible. They play the Jets twice a year. They play the Dolphins twice a year.
I agree. So there is luck that comes with being a unicorn, even still. Like,
people are like, the Patriots are so good. Well, when you face 3 of the worst teams in the NFL twice a year, that only comes with you're going to have
100%.
You're going to win the division more times than not.
150%.
You put. I don't know. Let's put the Jaguars in the AFC East. Do they win that over and over and over again? Probably.
Possibly, but
maybe
they would have a better chance than what they are now.
All right. I'll put a better team. Let's put the Pittsburgh Steelers there.
They win the AFC East this year, probably by 2 or 3 games. Yes,
but they win it every single year.
Probably. I would not argue against.
You put
that.
the Indianapolis Colts on that AFC East side with Andrew Luck.
I mean, the Dolphins have been the one team. I know the Jets had a good 2-year run there, but
back-to-back
the Dolphins have been really the only franchise that's sometimes been a team that they at least play the Patriots really well.
And if you put, like, I don't know, like, what other team, like, what NFC team if you move to the AFC East would be just ridiculous? The Saints, probably? It's not even fair to even describe.
I think that every team in the NFC minus the Rams maybe would have every playoff team in the NFC minus the Rams maybe, I think, would have a better record if they were in the AFC East if they replaced the Patriots.
Like, some people say, the NFC East is the worst. I say AFC East is the worst division minus one team.
Yeah, I think, and it kind of,
there's no denying that.
It kind of helps too that the Patriots make everybody look bad too. You know, so like it kind of goes both ways. Like, it's on one hand, it's the division that's terrible, minus Patriots. On the other hand, the Patriots are just really good. So it's like the gap is always there, right? So.
Yeah.
So biggest failure for you, Minnesota, but then you said Jacksonville, or do you say Pittsburgh?
I say Jacksonville more because they made it to the AFC title game. They look like this team can be back on top again, and then just no. They just felt that four-win team is more disappointing than a team that barely missed the playoffs to me.
Yes. I will say, though, I saw the Jacksonville collapse coming just because last year they played an incredibly easy schedule. I know that we discussed before, but last year, 8 of their games, half of their schedule came against Jacoby Brissett, Tom Savage, Deshaun Kaiser, Matt Castle, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Those, 5 quarterbacks I mentioned, that was half their schedule. And they played a weak schedule. This year they played a first-place schedule, and they still, their problems, yes, their defense was very good last year, but it's hard to win in the NFL year after year without a good quarterback. And we saw that with them. When you don't have a good quarterback, it's very hard to win every year, even if your defense can be good one year. Like, that's why it's going to be hard for the Cowboys to be good next year unless Dak Prescott makes another step.
Can I be honest with you?
And
I think the Cowboys got super lucky this season.
I think that even as good as the Bears are doing right now, I think it's going to be hard for the Bears to be good next year unless Trubisky takes another step in his progression, even with a dominant defense like that. It's just very hard to do that again. It's hard to replicate that year in, year out. We saw the Seahawks do it for a couple years of that defense while Russell Wilson was maturing and growing before he got to the level that he is now. But anyways, what would it look like if we all just listen more? Listening to audiobooks inspires us. It motivates us. It even brings us closer, and there's no better place to listen than with Audible. Audible has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet, and now Audible members get more than ever before. Each month they get 3 titles of their choice, 1 audiobook, 2 original titles, and fitness programs they can't get anywhere else. There's never been a better time to experience Audible. Try it for free for 30 days for the fans of this show. Go to audible.com/GSMC book, or you don't even have to do that. All you can do, get your phone out, text GSMC book to 500-500. Do it today, and you can get started with a 30-day free trial. We'll be right back.
What happens to your decision-making when you drink? Well, after one drink, you feel confident. A few more, and calling your ex at 1 a.m. seems like a great idea. And you're pretty sure the secret to a great taco is 4-day-old macaroni. The bottom line, drunk you doesn't make great decisions. So you're risking a DUI or worse if you count on him to get you home. Plan before you party. Get home safe. Brought to you by Washington.
And we are back to the GSMC Football Podcast again. We just talked about the NFL playoffs, but now let's switch our focus over, and we'll switch it over to the college football playoffs, as this weekend we saw both playoff games come and go. We saw Alabama take on Oklahoma. We saw Notre Dame take on Clemson. We'll jump right into it. First game of the day on Saturday was Notre Dame and
I'm sorry, there was
Clemson.
another. Clemson played a team?
Yes.
I didn't see another team on the field.
So Notre Dame and Clemson played. It wasn't much of a game, 30-3. Clemson dominates. They win. They advance to the college football championship again under Dabo Swinney, who may be the best college football coach. He just might. I know everybody talks about Saban. A lot of people talk about Urban. But what about Dabo? Clemson might be one of the 2 best programs in the last 3 or 4 years, would you say? They won a national championship. They've been there another time. This is, 3rd time in 5 or 6 years?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But they had to play a pretty easy, well, I wouldn't say easy team, but it looked like they didn't even try.
Yeah. So let's talk about Clemson, Notre Dame in detail. Notre Dame, they were undefeated. They go in. They get crushed by Clemson. I kind of saw it coming. I know you thought Notre Dame had a good chance to win this game or would at least make it a game. I wasn't feeling as confident, although I wanted to believe. So I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, they didn't deserve to be there." Blah 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 blah. What do you say about that?
There is a lot of talk about whether they deserve to be there or not, and people had a field day with Notre Dame because of the fact that, well, they got killed 30-3, and the fact of the matter is maybe they're right. Maybe there needs to be a new change. There needs to be something different. There needs to be maybe 8 teams. Maybe expand it. Maybe rank them differently. But the College Football Playoff Committee got an earful on this weekend for sure.
Yeah, and we'll discuss that more. But in this game, I mean, what did you say? Did you see Clemson just being their defense just too good for Notre Dame? Like, what was your takeaway, I guess, from
I
this
think
matchup?
Notre Dame's I don't know. It was so hard to tell, but it looked like Notre Dame was just not the same team we saw this season. They looked unrecognizable.
Maybe Clemson's just that good.
Maybe.
Because they did go undefeated, like it wasn't like they barely got in. They handled everyone. So
yeah, I don't know. You got a point there, but there is some thought of maybe Notre Dame's not in the league. Maybe they didn't deserve to be there.
Deserved. That's an interesting word.
Maybe that's a strong word to say.
Do you think that?
Continue.
If they lost the game by a touchdown, that they still wouldn't have deserved. That's just a weird thing to hear. It's a weird thing because they won all their games. So on merit, they deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Now, were there other teams at home that didn't get to play because of the rankings that maybe were better? Sure. But they didn't do what they needed to do.
Georgia definitely thought that.
But they didn't do what they needed to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
They lost 2 games. People forget about that. They didn't just lose Alabama. If they just lost Alabama, they would have been playing Saturday. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
But they lost 2.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other game before we talk about all this playoff expansion stuff.
Okay, continue.
Alabama. They handled Oklahoma. They win by 11. It looked closer, I think.
On the scoreboard,
yeah.
Definitely. But
Oklahoma
this game was all Alabama.
Alabama's the best team.
It's hard to deny, huh?
Clemson has a chance to win this game.
Did you see Nick Saban breaking his headset, though, after still being up by... He was up by 21.
He smashed it.
Be satisfied. He's never satisfied.
So
he could win the lottery and just go...
I think Clemson has a real chance of beating Alabama. I do, but I think Alabama's the best team.
They did it before.
It's going to be very difficult, but Alabama is for sure. Clemson can win that game, but make no mistake, Alabama's the best team. Alabama's the best team. Clemson can win because in a one-game playoff, in a one-game championship, you don't have to be the best team to win.
I agree.
Like the New York Giants.
It's whoever's
tell you
best on that
up.
day.
Exactly. Clemson could be the best team on that day, and Dabo Swinney could be the best coach on that day. It's going to be incredibly
doesn't make
difficult.
them the best team.
Exactly, but
overall,
Alabama for sure is the best team. They're the best college football team that I think I've ever seen. I will say that, and I know that some people probably say that's ridiculous.
It's hard to deny. I can understand where it comes in the fact disagreements because all time is such a strong phrase. But you look at this team, and their backup quarterback can be a Heisman winner. That's how deep this team is.
And Tua brings such a different element to that team that
and no one can get through that offensive line.
Great offensive line. Great defensive line.
No one can out-catch the receivers. No one can defend those receivers. No one can handle their defense. Everything they do is, I don't use this word much, but perfect.
So I know you want to talk about it. I'll let you go ahead. Expansion or the college football playoffs. I know you kind of watch these games, and after watching these games, you think maybe we should go to 8-team playoff or more?
I really think so. I think because of so many people complaining about it, I think it's just all right, that's it. We got to see how 8 teams work or 6 teams work. Just something a little more spread out so we can see just how this will all play out. If 8 teams is better, I believe it will be. I believe 8 teams can. I know that brings in more of the fact that, this team can still get blown out like crazy or blowouts here and there. But I think it brings out more opportunities, more upsets, and that's what college football is all about, is the upsets.
Are you
and the unpredictability.
Are you wanting the best team to win, or are you wanting chaos?
I'm wanting chaos. Who doesn't love chaos?
Because I think that's, if you expand the playoffs, you for sure add that element of upsets. You add that element of the best team getting upset because there's a better chance. They have to play more games, one more game. 3 teams, there's a chance they lose for sure. Better chance.
And it really shows who really has what it takes to go far.
Now, I am not saying that I disagree with college football expansion, because I am intrigued by 8-team playoff. In fact, if they do expand, I think 8 is the number, the sweet spot. I think that's the number that you'd have to go to that would kind of satisfy everybody, right? Like, the college football expansion people would be satisfied, and then the people, the traditionalists, they'd say, fine, we'll go to 8, but no more. So then you kind of just, it's not a radical change.
It's never enough, you're
If
saying?
you go to like a 12 or a 16, that's radical. Like, you're going from 4 to like everybody makes it, you know? So the traditionalists, that'd be totally, they would not be on board. But I think 8 is a compromise, and I am on board with that.
8
However,
is as high
Jeff,
as I would go as well.
However, I will say that just because you expand the playoffs does not mean that you will get better playoff games. And I think that a lot of people have this theory or this mindset that if we have 8 teams, that the actual games will be more exciting, that'll be closer, that we'll see more like the Boise State-Oklahoma Fiesta Bowl. Like, I think people have that idea, but I think what you're going to see is more blowouts. Mm-hmm. Not
Which
that I'm against. I'm just saying that you could have as many dud games with more. You could actually have more games that are poor rather than games that are good.
True, I agree with that. But I like the aspect of more opportunities for teams that that don't get the opportunity to be.
You
in the
would have
top
liked
4.
to see Ohio State and Georgia get their chance. I understand. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you, because you could argue that one of those 2 teams were 2 of the top. One of them was at least one of the top 4 teams, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But they didn't get in this year. However, if we expanded to 8, what 2 teams also would have got in other than Ohio State and Georgia?
You would see Michigan and UCF.
And Michigan played who?
They played Florida and got their butts kicked. True.
So Michigan would have been the 7 seed. They would have played Clemson. They probably would have got beat by worse than what Notre Dame did, would you say?
In theory, but doesn't mean it would actually have happened.
That's true, but considering the fact that Notre Dame beat Michigan, Clemson crushed Notre Dame, Clemson's undefeated, Michigan's lost a few games. Yeah. You're right. Different matchups can bring out different results. Absolutely.
Yes.
Central Florida, though. They would have played Alabama. What do you think the score of that game would have been? Be honest.
5-2.
I know you like the Cinderella, the underdog story, but be honest. What do you think the score of that game would have been?
Probably 3 touchdowns to Alabama, and I'm being nice about it.
That's it?
I said I was being nice about it.
They almost beat Oklahoma by 3 touchdowns.
I was being nice about it, I said.
I think if Alabama wanted to against a Central Florida team in a playoff game, I think they would have won by 5 touchdowns. No joke. I think it would have been that bad. Probably worse, actually. But they would have pulled players because they would have been not wanting to get anybody hurt for their next playoff game, right? So
it's already like, okay, I see what you're saying.
yeah, they would have called off the dogs, right? They would have put in the second and third strings.
Or I'm a seal now. UCF is as good as they say they are, and they have a competitive game.
That would be the hope for everybody watching who's not an Alabama fan, for sure. But sadly, we would all just be like, again, Alabama, like, dude, especially when Central Florida lost their quarterback. Like,
it's like the NBA. No matter what happens, there's something that will always stay the same, and that's Alabama in a championship game.
Nick Saban might not win a championship, but he's not losing to Central Florida in a playoff game. I'll tell you that. Not a Nick Saban team. But it would be fun to see every once in a while. I agree with that. I just think that I think we both agree that we want to see a college football playoff, but I think we just need to realize that it may not make the playoffs better. Like it may not. It's not like, oh, if we do 8 teams, oh, it would be so good, so exciting. Alabama would have tough games, like Clemson would have a scare, like, or they would just crush those teams and then still meet up in the championship game, right? Like,
Well, I
you
guess it
never
will
know.
prove that they're the best, though.
I mean, if whoever wins the championship they would have gone undefeated and won the championship against either Clemson or Alabama? Isn't that kind of like they're the best?
I'm
right?
just thinking 4 is too little. 6,
I get it.
Maybe.
It is with the Power 5 conferences, and you have 4 playoff spots. Plus, it
You
kind
can't,
of
but maybe
it really
okay,
screws.
hear me
It
out.
really screws the small
But
conferences.
Exactly my
It really
point.
does. It really does. I get it.
You can do 5.
But this is
Hear me
America.
out, hear
This
me
is
out.
America. Things are not
Hear
fair.
me out, sir. You can do 5 and give the number 1 seeded team some sort of bye.
So
Just maybe add 1 team, see how that goes, a bye week for Alabama.
just go 8 if you're going to expand it. If you're gonna expand, just go 8. Don't expand it and only give 1 more spot. If they do that, I probably would blow a gasket.
But
I'm not gonna lie.
Dude, the college football like NCAA have always done
Imagine
some
this.
questionable things.
Here, let me ask you
Okay.
this: if after last season they proposed the rule change of adding 1 more team, and we were sitting here saying, because then like Ohio State or Georgia would have got still left out, one of those teams still would have been left out, we would have been sitting here saying, I can't believe they didn't let Ohio State, or I can't believe they didn't let Georgia win. After
We would be exactly where we are right
exactly
now.
where we are now, especially because Oklahoma or Notre Dame, one of the two would have got blown out again, and we would have been like, dang it, I told you, if they would have just put Georgia back in.
Oh, I did not expect a rant coming from this.
But you know
okay,
it- you know it's true,
Let's
right?
go here. Let's go there.
You know it's true, right? Like, we would have been saying, by golly, Ohio State not getting in is a
By
travesty.
golly. I don't think I'll be saying by golly. This is the only time you ever hear me say that
Dag
word.
nabbit, listen, all right?
How old are you?
I'm not doing the voice. Not doing the
Yeah,
voice.
but my God, by
Get
golly,
off my line.
you just said you wouldn't do the voice. Oh, God, can we go to break?
Yes.
Speaking of breaks, I need to listen to something different, like an audiobook. Audiobooks inspire us, motivates us, even brings us closer together. And there's no better place to listen than Audible. Audible has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet, and now Audible members get more than ever before. Each month they get 3 titles of their choice. 1 audiobook, 2 Audible originals, and fitness programs they can't get anywhere else. There's never been a better time to experience Audible. Try it free for 30 days by visiting audible.com/GSMC book or by texting the code GSMC book to 500-500. Once again, if you want to try this free for 30 days, visit audible.com/GSMC book or text in the code GSMC book to 500-500.
What happens to your decision-making when you drink? Well, after 1 drink, you feel confident. A few more, and calling your ex at 1 a.m. seems like a great idea. And you're pretty sure the secret to a great taco is 4-day-old macaroni. The bottom line, drunk you doesn't make great decisions. So you're risking a DUI or worse if you count on him to get you home. Plan before you party. Get home safe. Brought to you by
And we are back with the GSMC Football Podcast. We're done discussing college football playoffs for now.
Have you cooled down, sir?
Oh man, I'm good, man. I'm
Good?
I am nice. I'm cool, calm, and collected. Yeah. Let's move on. Though we will discuss the college football championship later on this week as we approach it. What is it? A week from today, I believe.
Yes.
In Santa Clara. So we will discuss
It's
that.
January 7th, 2019.
Almost. You got to figure it out now, right? We got to get it out of the way as we are just hours away from 2019. Just hours. Not days.
Let's see.
Just hours.
It's 9 a.m.
15
Pacific
hours?
time at the moment, so 3 plus 12.
14 hours and 55 minutes.
Yeah, roughly. Or 55 minutes. You said
Yeah.
45.
Did I say?
I think you said 45. You might have. No.
I think I said 55.
I don't
but
really
If
listen.
I said 45, I apologize.
Let's be honest. I don't really listen to you.
Yeah, nobody does. You and my wife both.
Oh, well, wow. Is everything okay?
Everything is great.
Oh, okay.
Sliding headfirst into 2019.
Hopefully you don't get a concussion.
I did want to mention, though, before we move on
Yeah.
from the college football playoffs,
We're still ranting?
even the
Okay.
four teams, we've seen the average point differential in a 4-team playoff between the number 1 and the 4, the number 2, the number 3, and the national championship is 22 points, over 3 touchdowns. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
It kind of sucks, right?
It really does. I don't know what else to say, but it does.
Speaking
it's
of
not
sucking,
competitive.
Some NFL coaches.
Well, actually, there was one. The Georgia-Oklahoma game last year was really
very good.
Overtime. Yeah.
Speaking of not being very good,
Coaches.
NFL coaches got fired.
It's
lot of
Black
them.
Monday.
There has been a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coaches fired today. There has been 2 firings before.
On the drive here, I got 3 notifications of people being fired. I only checked them when I parked my car. I was like, oh, I got all these doo-doots on my phone. And I saw, oh, wow, okay, he got fired. Oh, he's gone. And oh, wow, he's gone too. And then during our sports podcast, we found out Marvin Lewis got fired.
Marvin Lewis.
That
one actually shocked me.
That was 5 years too late. And I'm being generous about 5 years.
I am not sure how he lasted this long. Unbelievable.
I'm not going to say it. I have
What
a
were you gonna
joke,
say,
but
Jeff?
I wasn't going to say it. Nope, I have maturity a little bit.
Ha.
Yeah, I don't.
Anyways, why don't we talk about the vacancies? So we already knew Cleveland and Green Bay were open.
Yes.
So we already knew that those positions are looking to be filled. It sounds like Mike McCarthy actually might be the front runner for the Cleveland job. That's rumors. We don't know that for sure. It is fun to talk about, though.
Cleveland Browns hire Hugh Jackson back. No, they hire Marvin Lewis.
Yeah, oh my God!
Could you imagine? We were talking about this. If Cincinnati hires Hugh Jackson and Cleveland hires Marvin Lewis, what would
at that point,
Ohio
just combine the teams?
Would Ohio
just combine the teams and give an expansion team to somewhere else?
Would Ohio just burn to the ground?
I don't even know. Who wins between Browns and Bengals fans if that happens? Like, who wins?
Well, the Browns have more talent, so I would give that to them. Just because of the players, not the coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Marvin Lewis has been to playoff games. He hasn't won any, but he's been to some.
So we have, in addition to Green Bay and Cleveland, Cincinnati, Miami, Denver, Arizona, Tampa Bay, New York Jets are all open as the Dolphins fire Adam Gase, the Bengals fire Marvin Lewis, Vance Joseph is fired from the Broncos, Wilkes is reportedly done in Arizona. I don't know if he resigned or if he's getting fired, but he's walking away.
It sounds like
or
it's
something.
a firing.
Dirk Cutter, gone. Todd Bowles, fired. All right, so let's talk about it. I know you think Cleveland...
Who's the most obvious? Let's say who's the most obvious first.
Okay, yeah, let's go there. Most obvious...
Todd Bowles.
Maybe Adam Gase. Well, other than Lewis. Lewis is the most obvious.
Lewis was kind of surprising because we didn't expect it to happen. We expected him just to leave on his own
I figured
volition.
Vance Joseph was kind of screwed, honestly, like all season.
I think Todd Bowles was the most obvious. Because everyone
Yeah.
was saying, I'd like 2 games in, he's done.
I actually don't think any of these are... The only one that's mildly surprising is Wilkes because he was in his first year.
First, that's not fair. I've said this before. It's just not fair to him. You can't.
That one's the one that's mildly surprising, right?
You can't do anything on your first year. How can you get on someone's bad side in your first year? Obviously, he did something that pissed off the Cardinals front office.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no other explanation.
So, I would say Wilkes is the least obvious. Most obvious, I think Adam Gase, maybe. I don't necessarily think it's his fault.
Give me Todd Bowles.
Which one of these coaches? Okay, take out Mike McCarthy because he's actually been successful. He's actually won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Which one of these coaches, if you were a GM and your team needed a coach, let's say next year or something like that, would you be most interested in interviewing? Adam Gase, Vance Joseph, Wilkes, Cutter, Bowles, Marvin Lewis.
Adam Gates.
I think so too. He still has the most intriguing to me because I think he's actually a decent offensive coach. He won. He was a 500 coach, basically. I know he's one game under 500, but he basically was a 500 coach with Tannehill,
Jay Cutler.
Cutler.
He made the playoffs with them for crying out loud. Not Jay Cutler,
Tannehill, Cutler, and Brock Osweiler.
Oh my God, that's right. Brock Osweiler was on this team this season. This season he was on this team. And he played well.
Yeah, he won like 2 or 3 games in a row in Brocktober, remember?
And you were all about him. What was your
The
nickname?
Broctagon?
Yes, the Broctagon was a thing.
Step inside the Broctagon. All right, so
Ugh, thank God that's over.
Adam Gase, I think, is going to be a very good offensive coordinator for somebody. Just like he was in the past.
Mm-hmm.
When he was with Denver. With Chicago. I don't know where he goes. I would be after Adam Gase though. Vance Joseph, Wilkes, Cutter, Bowles, Marvin Lewis. Which one of those would you say is the next coach that you might be interested in talking to?
Maybe Wilkes, maybe McCarthy. That's hard. Can I look for a coach in college?
Yes, Lincoln Riley is a big name.
Yes.
He's going to be a popular name. I don't know if he'll leave. I think if you're Cleveland, I think if you're the Jets, I think if you're a team with a young quarterback like the Cardinals, I think you try and talk to him for sure. I would say so.
I think I'm more interested in college coaches than I am in the head coaches.
Him to Cleveland makes a lot of sense because of Baker Mayfield.
It would work.
But Mike McCarthy sounds like he's the front runner for Cleveland, which should be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the Dolphins will be interested in. The Dolphins like to go after big names. I know they got Adam Gase, but remember they were all in on Harbaugh. They were in on Harbaugh twice, and they didn't get him. I wonder if they go after.
I don't think.
I wonder if they go after Mike McCarthy. That is where I'm going with this. So which one of these jobs is the most attractive, other than Cleveland? Other than Cleveland and Green Bay, because I think no matter what,
honestly,
we think those are the top two.
Cleveland's my number one.
But those are the top two, right?
Yes.
Green Bay would be your number 2. I have Green Bay as 1. I have Cleveland at 2.
I have Cleveland at 1. I have Green Bay at 2.
Other than that, Dolphins, Broncos, Bucks, Cardinals, Jets, Bengals. Most attractive, least attractive.
Least attractive? Give me the Bengals are the least attractive to me.
Okay.
And for most attractive, you know what? I think I would have to go with Miami or Denver. Give me Miami.
I think Miami might be the most attractive of those 6.
It's hard to say, isn't it?
I think they're definitely more attractive than Tampa Bay.
Yes. Because
So, like,
they're
regionally speaking,
they're
I'd
keeping
rather-
their quarterback, and you're going in there, and you're going to probably change the quarterback.
Well, Tannehill, it sounds like they're going to walk away from Tannehill.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that's
Yeah,
more attractive because
okay.
you're getting a quarterback you want
You kind
instead
of get the pick.
instead of being stuck with Jameis Winston.
I'm going to say the worst job is Arizona, and I'll tell you why. Arizona,
No direction.
you want to know why? Because these are the last 5 first-round picks. Okay, last 6.
Oh, I'm scared to hear this.
Last 6 first-round picks
All
for
right.
the Arizona Cardinals.
Go.
You ready?
Go.
Jonathan Cooper, mega bust.
Is he even in the league anymore?
He was signed to the 49ers this year and got cut in preseason.
Oh my good lord!
2013, he was the 3rd pick in the draft. Wow. Deion Buchanan hasn't been good as a safety for the Cardinals.
All I know is Antoine Bethea is their safety.
DJ Humphries, bust. Robert Nkemdiche,
Oh gosh!
bust. Hassan Reddick hasn't looked good.
All these guys are a who's
And
who.
then this last year, and this is the biggest one, Josh Rosen. And I think,
Let's wait on that one.
right. But here's the thing. if you're hired, if they say, Jeff Malinoff, you're going to be the new coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Can I pick the draft picks?
That's the thing. You know, A, that you're not picking the players, and B, your success rides with Josh Rosen, who didn't show any improvement really from game 1 to game 16 this year. Yes, we don't know if he's good. I'm totally on board with we got to wait and see with him. But that's got to be a red flag when a quarterback – we saw what Darnold did. Darnold started off, yeah, he had a good first game, but he was struggling. Then the last few weeks picked it up. We saw Josh Allen win some games. We saw Lamar Jackson lead a team to the playoffs. We saw Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield looks really good.
Baker Mayfield looks better than everyone else.
Josh Rosen has not looked good. Not yet, at least.
Well, I'm going to defend him by saying his offensive line is probably the worst in the NFL.
I will agree with you. But also, who is their best offensive player? Probably David Johnson,
I
right?
can't even say that anymore.
But who is their most important player on that team? Who is their leader? Who is the leader of the Arizona Cardinals?
Oh, Larry Fitzgerald.
And he's gone. He's leaving,
supposedly.
Right? But even still, what is he going to do? Play one more year? So if you're the head coach and you're thinking, hey, I'm going to come in, my best team leader, my Hall of Fame player is retiring. I have a quarterback who I don't know if he's good, and management's going to stick with him over me, and I have to play him. I don't get to pick another quarterback. It's a tough job to walk into. That's what I'm saying.
And you have to live in Arizona, which is hot as
yeah,
all
but
hell.
Arizona, that's kind of a positive, right?
Yeah, Arizona's. Oh no,
Especially in the winter.
I went to college in Arizona. It's a great area,
especially in the winter,
but during those summer practices, oh my gosh,
but
it's gotta be
they
hot.
practice inside, right? For the
I hope so.
I just think that that's the least attractive job. I'm not saying that nobody can win there, but Bruce Arians is interesting. I know that he wants the Cleveland Browns job. I think that'd be a good spot for him, to be honest with you. Can you imagine that? Bruce Arians and Baker Mayfield? I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be...
He loves the idea.
I think that there would be like... not only would they win, I think they would be cool. You know what I mean? Like the Browns would be cool. They'd be a cool team.
Buddies. Oh, cool team.
Like if you're watching football, it'd be like, yeah, that guy's a cool coach with his fedora. You got this. You got this guy who's kind of a jerk, but he's kind of cool. Like Baker Mayfield's kind of a jerk, but he's kind of cool to root for because like he's fun. He's fun.
I see what you're getting at here.
He's entertaining, right? Are you at least not? Are you not entertained? Right? Like the quote. Are you not entertained? Like that's Baker Mayfield.
Okay, guy from Gladiator. I forget his name honestly at the moment, but
anyway, we got to take a break. When we come back. We'll talk about some other notes and stuff. What about Harbaugh? What about the Harbaughs? We'll talk about the Harbaughs.
Ooh, good.
And more.
Okay, that's interesting.
The Harbaughs and more when we return.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We just discussed Black Monday in the NFL as many coaches have been fired. There's been 8 already. We might see a couple more. It's reported that Zimmer is going to return for the Vikings.
He said he's not resigning or retiring.
What if the Steelers fire Tomlin? Wouldn't that be interesting? They don't fire coaches. They've only had 4 in their history.
3,
5.
3, 4.
Yeah, they don't fire coaches.
They've had 3 in the last 80 years.
But if there was a time to do it, it might be now. But we'll see if any more happens. However, let's talk about a coach that I think we both thought would be fired by now, John Harbaugh, coach of the Baltimore Ravens. And I bring him up because the Ravens win. They are in the playoffs, which will be an interesting game as they host the Chargers.
Anywhere for now.
They host the Chargers. But I found a quote from him yesterday. He said this is the best team that he's ever coached. This year's version of the Ravens. What do you say about that?
There's a team that won the Super Bowl, but I think it was a Ray Lewis fluke, my personal opinion. It was Ray Lewis's retirement
Isn't it kind
song.
of funny that he said that, though? Like, this is the best team? I'm not saying the Ravens aren't good, because they are a very good team.
What are they, 9-7?
I think
10-6?
10-6, 9-7. Regardless, they held on to make the playoffs. They held on against Cleveland yesterday, I would say.
Yeah, they didn't.
They secured the interception.
They maybe had the number 1 defense in the NFL, but the rest looked mediocre at best.
All right, so why don't we switch attention to his brother, Jim Harbaugh, who has just had a heck of a time. This is not... When he signed with Michigan, this is not how the story is supposed to go. This is not the script. The script was, I signed to Michigan, 2 to 3 years, I win a national championship, I beat Ohio State twice or 3 times in a row, I win the conference a couple times. None of these things are happening. This has not gone as planned. What do you make of him getting blown out? Him and the Wolverines got blown out by Florida.
I think it's safe to say Harbaugh can't win the big one.
At this point, though, he's got to win the game to win the big one. Like, at this point, he's got to win the games to win the big game because he's not winning those games.
That's my point exactly. He can't win a championship. He can't even win the conference championship. I think this might be a serious concern 2 or 3 years down the road.
And to think, if we had an 18 playoff, they would have played against Clemson. They would have been the 7 against the 2.
I think they would have been slaughtered.
Yeah. Seriously.
Like, we would see blood everywhere. It would look like a horror movie.
Did you see the end of that Florida game, though? He didn't shake hands with the coach from Florida.
Yeah.
You know Harbaugh is. He's petty. For better, for worse.
Okay.
He's emotional. He is an emotional coach.
Yeah.
He could be petty, but, yeah, man.
Petty. I don't know why I said that.
Is that what you have on tap for today? This afternoon, you're gonna get a mani-pedi to ring in the new year.
I don't get my finger. I sometimes do that because I don't want. Just to, what's the word? Just to groom myself, but I don't get them painted or anything. I just get it. You get a massage too.
I like when you feel uncomfortable.
You get a massage too. I rarely get uncomfortable. You get a massage too. So
is this on your petty or your mani-pedi?
Both.
I'm not judging. I have no problem.
I got one for my prom date because I was trying to make it look nice.
I haven't gotten a pedicure before, but I do like getting full body massages, and I kind of feel like that's the same sort of thing. I mean,
the chair gives you a massage, you get your feet massaged.
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing. It's self-comfort. It's
actually
soothing.
My dad gets them a lot, and I keep making fun of him. And then he's like, "I'm going to take you to one." I go, "Oh, this is lovely."
What a baller! Mr. Malinoff is a baller.
Yes, he is.
That's tight.
Don't mess with my dad.
You should get one ring in the new year, or maybe like a new year, new me, Like,
I hate that saying because no one changes.
New
ever.
year, new me, Jeff. I'm gonna run a half marathon in March. I've never ran anything higher than a 5K. I do play soccer, so I do run that regard. But in terms of running continuously,
so that's
it's different.
What, 13 miles?
13.1. I don't know. I'll have the sticker though when I complete it. I'll put the sticker.
You'll have
on the car.
Oh my god.
I'll be one of those people, one of those obnoxious folks that lets everybody know that they run. You know how it is. I'm going to be one of those people. I'm actually just going to do it because I want to say that
You're going to be my least liked person for a while.
I'm literally only doing this to say that I did it, and I'll probably never do it again. Like, I'm just going to say, I did that, move on.
My mom,
2019.
I believe my mother has ran a bunch of half miles.
Half marathons, for real?
Yeah. I think she ran a full marathon one time.
Really? That's insane. What is that, 26? I don't even
26 and a half or something.
Who has the time to run that? Like, I run 4 miles, and I'm like, God, that was like 40 minutes of my time. Like, who has the time to run 26 miles? Like, come on.
Apparently people that run marathons do.
How long does that take? Like 3 hours?
Roughly.
If you're doing like...
I think that's a record. That'd be a world record,
10-minute miles, you can do 6 miles an hour. So if you do 6 an hour, that's like 5 hours.
Yeah, bro.
Like,
4.5.
Yeah, but I mean between 4 and 5. Holy crap!
I think the world record's like 2.5 hours.
All right, this has nothing to do with football, but I just thought that was crazy.
Oh yeah.
How about Miami hiring Manny Diaz to be their coach? He took the Temple job and then said, "Oh wait, Miami wants to hire me."
That was Josh McDaniels-esque.
That was kind of a rude move, if you know what I mean. So,
yes, it was.
what about we saw 2 tight ends break an NFL record yesterday, a record held by Gronkowski.
In a matter of minutes.
Travis Kelce held the record for most receiving yards in a season by a tight end for about, 20 minutes, more or less. And then George Kittle did on like a 60-yard run, too. George Kittle breaking the NFL record for receiving yards in a season for a tight end is one of the crazier things that I've ever heard of because, A, it's George Kittle, who is a 5th-round pick, second-year player from Iowa.
Well, I mean, look at a bunch of these tight
that
ends.
He caught like 24 passes in his 4 years at Iowa? They never used him as a receiver. How silly.
But honestly, like,
how dumb would you feel?
Look at a bunch of great tight ends in the NFL and look at where they were drafted.
But how dumb would you feel if you coached a kid in college who you never used as a receiver, who one day broke an NFL record for receiving yards?
NFL record, too.
An NFL record. Yeah. I don't even care if this record holds a year now. At one point in time, he had the most yards ever by a player at his position, and you never used him in that
honestly,
capacity.
You look at it, and a bunch of great tight ends are not first-round or second-round picks.
True. And sometimes they're basketball players, and like Antonio Gates.
Jimmy Graham.
Like Jimmy Graham, exactly.
Shannon
incredible
Sharp
athletes.
was like a 7th-round pick, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Or even undrafted.
A lot of tight ends, a lot of big tight ends were, Gronk was a 2nd-round pick, I believe, which is pretty high for a tight end. But still, I mean, if you thought he was going to be Gronk, you would have picked him in the 1st round, right? Like of course, if you knew what you were getting, it's one of those things. Like if you knew Tom Brady was going to be great, you would have picked him in the first. You would have picked
not
the
109.
You would have traded 6
selection.
first-round picks for Tom Brady if you knew that one day he was going to go to 9 Super Bowls. You just absolutely would.
Gosh, he's been to 9.
You just absolutely would have. Like you would have done that, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a question about that.
Yeah. Anyways, anything else you want to add in football? We'll be back tomorrow. We got more football to talk about tomorrow.
I think we're good.
I think tomorrow we'll break down the coaching vacancies a little bit more detail. I think we'll actually rank them out.
We will preview the playoff games.
Yes,
I think that
we'll preview the playoff game. We'll rank out the actual. Maybe there will be some more firings in the next 24 hours. It is Black Monday and it's still early.
We might see some signings in the next 24 hours.
It's possible.
Or
we'll probably get some rumors too when it comes to who's interviewing and things like that. So, anyways,
it's a fun time.
That's it for us. Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.